Try a two-banger. Fuck it.
All right, I'm not even going to show that. Let's see what's going on with Dr. K.
Welcome to another Healthy Gamer GG stream. My name's Alok Kanoja. I'm a psychiatrist practicing in Boston. Just a reminder that everything we discussed on stream today is intended to be for educational purposes, and nothing is intended to be taken as medical advice. So we're going to do something a little bit different. Let me just run through announcements today. So a couple of things. So we've got about 19 spots open in group coaching. And we've got a promotion for pricing that'll end on September 20th, but y'all can make, you can actually sign up on September 8th for all of the new coaches that are going to launch. So just some quick administrative information there. And, you know, if you guys want to...
I see the Twitch subs, everybody. I appreciate it. Also, the code BILLIONS is live for our 1 billion view celebration. The code BILLIONS at joinpakman.com does work. Just as a soft announcement of that. It'll be fully, I'm pre-promoting it, and then it'll be completely pro-promoted later today.
20 more coaches on September 20th to try to do that. But, you know, the training process takes some time and stuff like that. So, you know, please be patient with us. We're kind of going as fast as we can, but we also want to make sure that their training is sufficient and solid. The other thing is sometimes people will, you know, ask, I see people kind of mentioning in chat, hey, what's Dr. K talking about? Or like sort of mentioning that.
Just so people know, this is not going to be our like eventual total shot. This is just what I'm waiting for is we're going to be doing all of this via Discord. So once it's all up and running, my goal is to get a nicely framed shot here so we can see everybody and see everything. This is my first time doing this with Discord, so it may take me a bit to get it right. Please bear with me as far as that goes. Okay, I'm gonna do absolutely the best I can with it.
People also post on subreddit about a particular topic, and there are some people in our community who are awesome and sort of will direct you towards particular things. There was an awesome post, you know, about a month or two ago from someone who compiled like all of the like clips.
Thanks to Chaotic Stasis as well as Colors ATK for re-upping your Twitch subs. Also, Half Cabbage has re-upped. Our friend Lars Barenroth on Twitch under the handle Deeper Shades of House has just re-upped for 16 months, if you can imagine it. Denver McCarthy coming in with a super chat says, can we get to the bottom of what he says after Jimmy from Philly? Is it wiped, white, and why? All good questions. All good questions.
You guys missed something. So, so today we're going to do something fun and something different, something I'm really looking forward to. So, you know, we've been on the David Pakman show, I think about twice now. And, you know, really appreciate his dialogue and the way that he works and the way he thinks and stuff like that. And so, you know, the last time we were on David Pakman's show, we sort of talked a little bit about, you know, sometimes he'll say that people will kind of disagree with him and will be pretty vocal. And I sort of mentioned to him that, you know, it would be really cool to like sort of talk to someone in an open-ended, non-judgmental manner about, you know, what they believe and how they came to believe it.
Right.
Because I find that so much of political discourse right now is like really just, you know, plastering the other side as backward or idiots or whatever. And one of the things that I really appreciate about, you know, training to be kind of non-judgmental through, you know, training to become a monk and sort of accepting people where they're at and like learning how to listen is, and also like learning how to be a good listener through, you know, training as a therapist. I think that those skills can actually be applied to like, you know, non-therapeutic or non-spiritual places. And one of the goals that we kind of are focused on, you know, here at Healthy Gamer is just to try to understand people, right? And educate people about different perspectives.
Yep.
And so a lot of times our focus has been on like mental health, but sometimes we'll talk about stuff like, you know, how to efficiently study and things like that. But today we're going to try something a little bit different. And we're going to hop into a call with David Pakman, as well as a longtime, I don't know if I should call him fan of the show,
right.
But
I don't either.
Someone who disagrees a lot with David Pakman, but I understand calls in a lot, and I think they've got like a good and healthy dialogue, hopefully. And that's Jimmy from Philly. And so we're going to hop in with them, and we're just going to talk to Jimmy and David for a little while and try to sort of understand, you know, a little bit about Jimmy's experience of the world and what he believes.
Yeah.
So I know it's a little bit different, but I'm really looking forward to it. And let's get started.
Okay, so let's see here. I am ready. I'm just going to put the camera on me until we've got everything up and running.
Okay. So let me try to
video call.
All right. So
join
I'm gonna
video
start a group
call.
call. Yo. We're gonna unmute this.
Okay.
Out.
Okay.
I have to figure out what's the right.
I just turned on the camera.
All right.
Okay.
I thought I did. Turn on camera.
There we go.
There you go. You had it.
See?
Beautiful. And I'm just going to take a second, guys, while we just chat here, since I don't usually use Discord, just to get it all finely tuned so my audience can see everybody.
Sure.
Okay.
Jimmy, your camera was on briefly.
Can
It
you
then
guys see
turned
me?
off. We cannot see you, Jimmy.
Oh. All right.
There we go.
You see me?
Yes.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Okay. Great.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. David, do you want to go ahead and kick things off? Or
Let me do that. Yeah, just to kind of set the situation here. So basically, I talked to all sorts of people on my show. At some point, Jimmy started calling in, and we know Jimmy is Jimmy from Philly. And he would bring to me different ideas and questions, and I found Jimmy to be an interesting character, a sad character in many ways, a concerning character in some ways as well. I think our rapport is sort of okay, although Jimmy does regularly say, you know, homophobic things, transphobic things, racist things, etc. And I think there's probably a lot to dig into there about the sort of origins or oranges of that. A couple things I'll mention about, you know, our dialogue with Jimmy. Jimmy has talked to me about his problems with alcohol, and you guys can probably see he's got some bottles there over his right shoulder, and that's something I've talked to Jimmy about before. Jimmy has talked about how he has a daughter, but at least at one point wasn't allowed to see her because of some physical violence that Jimmy was at least I'll say he was accused of, and we'll maybe leave it to Jimmy to tell us more about the specifics of that. Jimmy was also arrested not long ago because of, as I understand it, chasing a car with 4 black teenagers down the street while intoxicated, and that led to a sort of legal situation as well for Jimmy. And that's kind of the Jimmy that I know big picture. And every once in a while, Jimmy will say something that's sort of open, and he seems open to considering other ideas, etc. But very quickly, he'll go back into the transphobia, the homophobia, the racism. And that's Jimmy as far as my relationship with him, which has been through the internet and through my show.
quite the introduction. So I want to just clarify a couple things. So I noticed, you know, David mentioned like alcohol use and things like that. So just to clarify and make sure we're all on the same page, Jimmy, I am a psychiatrist, but my understanding of this conversation is that, you know, I'm not here because David's here too. We're going to just 3 people having a conversation. I wanted to just make sure that, are you under the impression that I'm your medical doctor or that I'm here to diagnose you with anything, treat you for anything? Okay. So we're just going to have a conversation and try to understand each other better. So the goal of what we do, the reason I stream is just so that we can try to understand people better and share that understanding with everyone who's watching. Are you kind of cool with that?
Yes.
Just so you understand, you know, if after the call, if you do sort of decide that you do want mental health support or treatment or things like that, you're welcome to kind of message us and we can kind of provide you with resources. We do that for every, you know, guest that comes on. You know, but that's kind of at your request. We're not going to push anything on you or recommend anything or anything like that. It's just sometimes
I'm sure fine.
Okay. So Jimmy, is it okay if I kind of ask you, I mean, do you want to share a little bit? Like, do you want to offer an introduction or I've got a couple of questions already.
I mean,
so first of all, like, how did it feel to hear David's kind of like litany of how he introduced you?
Well, he's gotten a lot of it wrong, actually.
Okay.
When I did the call with him last year, I clearly said that they were 4 black 20-somethings, not teenagers. This didn't occur in Philadelphia. It occurred in the suburb of Philadelphia. Let's see what else. I was arrested for public drunkenness, but I beat the case. They had a video of me going after a car. It doesn't prove that I was drunk. They had arrested me because I was off my the video showed them that I was off the property, and they said I was publicly drunk. The video showed that I was angry, not that I was drunk. I was drunk.
Okay.
But I was very. I wasn't that drunk. They were ready to let me go at the police station. I said the M word in the back of the police car, so they wouldn't let me go.
Sure. So what I'm kind of hearing is that, like, you didn't get a fair rap from David.
Well, Doc, here's what happened. Okay, so I'm a Trump supporter. I have signs on my lawn. They continued to get stolen, right? So I sat out there and was guarding them. And I'm drinking a little bit while I'm out there. 4 black men bum rush the lawn. They take signs real quick. And they ride around the block taunting me 3 times. Fuck Whitey, fuck Trump. The second time they did it, I ran in the house. I got a knife. Third time, they got caught at the light. I ran after the car. I was a little tipsy. I stopped to stab the top of the tire. I should have stabbed the sidewall, but the knife disintegrated in my hand. And they got out of the car laughing and chased me back to the house. And some nitwit took a video of me doing this. And they gave it to the cops. And the cops locked me up for public drunkenness. But I beat the case because they never showed up. They didn't have a case. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, thanks for sharing that, Jimmy. I appreciate it. But what I'm kind of curious about is, like, when you have kind of your side of the story, and, like, I was frankly kind of shocked. I mean, David, is it okay if I be critical of you for a second?
Please. I would love it.
Yeah. So, like, here he is introducing you. And, like, he starts off with, like, bottles in the back and, like, got arrested for this. And, like, you know, it's kind of a weird way.
It's a real charmer.
Yeah, I mean, how does that? I mean, like, because it's almost like he's sharing, like, the most negative or provocative things about you.
Well, David's a propagandist. What can I tell you? I mean, he's good at it. Yeah.
Yeah. So how does that make you kind of feel to be?
I was laughing
like
the entire time. If you were looking,
I noticed that. Yeah, that's what I was kind of asking, right? Because
I don't get offended easy, Doc. If that's what you're getting at, I really don't. People can say what they want. I really don't care.
Yeah. So okay.
I'm a generally happy person. So yeah. Now, see, what David wants to make hay out of it in this situation is basically that I'm crazy for going after the car. Well, I had 2 choices, Doc. How many men are going to sit there when 4 men come onto their lawn, take their property? I don't give a shit what it was. Took 4 of my Trump signs. Then they have the temerity to drive around the neighborhood 3 times, yelling racial epithets at me, pointing me with the signs out the window, and I'm just supposed to sit there like a little soy boy? I don't think so. That's not going to happen. That's not the type of person I am. I am going to do something about it. Right or wrong, I'm going to jail. I don't give a fuck. You do something like that to me, you're going to get held responsible in some kind of way. And, you know, I think the whole thing's funny. The whole thing's funny. You know, I think.
Jimmy, you kind of said that's not the kind of person I am. Can you help me understand what kind of person you are?
Well, apparently David would have sat on the wall and watched these morons ride around and taunt him. David thought it was crazy for me to go after them.
Yeah. So, Jimmy, I'm going to I may do something a little bit unusual. I may sort of ask a question again. So, like, when I ask you, like, you said, that's not the kind of person I am. And you say, well, David would have done this. Like, I'm not interested in what kind of person
David has the soy boy. Like, in other words, I had 2 choices, right? I was either to call the police or do nothing. But David was trying to make me sound crazy that I actually took action and went after these people that just stole from me.
And do you
I'm
find
saying
that
I'm not the kind of person that's going to sit there and watch something like that? Fuck the police.
Sure.
I'm going to
get it. Yeah, you know, I get that. So do you oftentimes, so what I'm hearing is that, like, you know, a lot of people in your situation kind of may lay down and take it, but you're not going to lay down and take it.
Well, yeah, but this was basically a thing David put out there. You know, like, I was nuts for taking action. I was not crazy. I'm just the type of person I am. And I wouldn't blame a guy for not doing nothing.
Sure.
You know
So
what I mean? But, yeah.
Yeah, and do you find that oftentimes, people try to like paint you as crazy by sort of sharing stories like this or things like that?
Well, I am a little nuts, Doc. I have no problem with that.
What
I mean,
does
I
that
do
mean?
things that most people wouldn't do. I'm very aware of that. That is my
What-
personality. That's how I am.
Can you help me understand that a little bit? Like, what do you do that other people wouldn't? Like, help me understand. Like, who are you, bro?
Gee, I don't know. I like to have fun.
Okay.
I see everything as funny.
Okay.
I make fun of everybody and everyone, including myself. But see,
Okay.
David, see, if I make fun of like a homosexual or a transsexual, let's face it, the man in the dress is the funniest thing since the dawn of time. All right, I'm sorry. I make fun of these folks, but that doesn't mean that I hate them. If these people want to be accepted as normal, then they better be ready to take jokes. You understand?
Okay. Yeah.
Because
So
if you're making them some sacred cow, which is what David does, and then that's just they're not special people. Okay, I have nothing against them, but I think that when shit is funny, it's funny, and I'm going to point it out.
sure. So what I'm kind of
That's
hearing is
simple.
that the way that you kind of treat them in a sense fairly, right? Because everyone gets made fun
I don't
of.
treat them anyway. I make fun of them.
Sure. Yeah.
Big deal. Woo! They can't handle that. They're
And-
wearing a dress, trying to look. If you look like Steve, I'm not. I think in New York, a landlord or an employer is fined well over $100,000 if they don't refer to these people as a certain pronoun. It could be they, zer, they. What? That's insanity. I'm not going to accept your delusion. Go ahead and be deluded. You have the freedom to do it, but you're not going to force me to address you as a woman when you're clearly a man. It's
Okay.
that simple. This is logic. This is science, biology.
Yeah, and so I'm a little bit curious, Jimmy, when you sort of, when there's a group of people that are defying science and logic and biology, like how does that, because you seem to get kind of passionate there as you were talking about it, how does that
Yeah.
kind of affect you?
It pisses me off.
And what pisses you off about it?
What pisses me off? You're trying to get me to accept your delusion. You have the right to be delusional, but you ain't making me. Look, if you look like Steve, I'm not calling you Susie. That sums it up. My whole philosophy on the issue.
Sure.
I got no problem with gay people. I got no problem with trans people. I think it's funny as hell. I think it's absolutely hilarious. And I mock them. But that doesn't mean I hate them. That doesn't mean if I were the Grand Poobah, would I stop it? No, I think it's hilarious. It's a shit show. I mean, I just think it's funny.
Sure. And can you
That's
help me
all.
understand? This may sound like a weird question, okay?
Go ahead.
But can you help me understand what you think is funny about it?
A man in a dress? That says it all.
Okay.
My name's Linda, and they got a deep voice. I mean, come on, man. This shit is funny.
Okay. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I think part of the problem with, dissecting humor is the moment you dissect it, it kind of falls apart, right?
Well,
So-
look, part of it is the commies are destroying comedy. That's what it really is.
Okay.
Everybody wants to get. You don't have the right not to be offended. You don't. People can make fun of you. It doesn't make them hateful people. Okay? I'm not a hateful person. Not a racist either.
How do you know whether someone is when someone mocks you, how do you know whether that person is hateful or not hateful?
You don't, but this is the way the left paints comedy anymore. You can't make fun of the homos. You can't make fun of the trannies. I mean, look at YouTube. They've got a library of things you can't talk about. What? Why not?
Okay. I hear what you're saying. So what I'm also hearing that, that they're kind of anti-science in a sense.
Yeah.
And that they're
A
also
man can't become a woman. This is
Okay.
impossible. I don't care if they cut their dick off, don't cut their. I don't care. They cannot become a woman. When they can change DNA, maybe you got an argument. But these people cannot become women.
And-
It's just impossible.
So Jimmy, let me let me kind of ask you. So you were kind of saying when someone mocks someone else, you know, you can't tell whether there's hatred or not hatred, right? Like if I mock you, if I make fun of you, you know.
But look, if you're known as a person to do that, if you're known as a like I used to do stand-up comedy, people that know me know. You know what I mean? It's not my fault that you're a snowflake and you can't handle a joke. You know what I mean? That's not. If you want to get offended, go ahead and get offended. I'm going to laugh at you even harder.
Okay. So now what I'm kind of hearing you say is that if they know you're a comedian, then it's okay to make, you know.
No, it's always okay to make fun of people. Why not? Humor is a spiritual principle. It actually brings people together. But the left is trying to destroy it.
Okay. So Jimmy, is it okay if I ask you a little bit about, it seems like you have a lot of really strong beliefs about what's going on. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
So I'm so curious. Can you help me understand like how you came to these opinions and how you came to believe these things?
Because I believe my ears and my eyes. When I see a man in a dress, I almost fall the fuck down. I'm skipping down the street when I see this shit. Like, oh my God, did you just see? What? Okay. I have a certain amount of sympathy for these people, but the solution isn't to follow their delusion. It's not. Dress up, play Barbie, I don't give a shit. But when you're trying, it's coming down the pipe where I'm gonna be forced to address these people by whatever they fucking want. Like what?
I'm gonna point something out to you. So there have been like 3 or 4 questions, and I'm curious, you know, what you think about that I've asked you about you, and your answer seems to be doesn't involve you. So I'll ask you, like, how did you come to believe these things? And you kind of started out with like saying, you know,
I told you I believe my eyes and my ears, and this is how my brain works. Everything's funny.
Okay.
Everything's funny. Like I think in cartoons sometimes. I don't know why.
So Jimmy, can you help me understand a little bit about where you grew up? Can I ask you some questions about your past?
Yeah. I grew up in Philly.
Okay. What was growing up like for you?
What was what?
What was growing up like?
I was very happy. I used to be so happy. I used to skip down the streets. And of course, the kids in Philly broke my balls until I stopped doing it. You know, the kids on the corner, I would skip. I was literally that happy. And I have a lot of energy too. So kids would make fun of me, but you know, I mean, that's Philly for you. You know, you can't do a goddamn thing without getting your balls busted on the corner. You know, it's like, that's what happens in Philly. I don't know.
Dr. K, I don't want to interrupt at such a key moment, but I do want to just say, because I'm not sure how familiar your audience maybe is either with me or with Jimmy, but this is not staged. And I think it's important that we just mention none of this is staged. Just for your, and I'm being serious here, this is not an act of any kind. We're just having a real conversation here.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was staged.
No. I know you don't think. I know you know it wasn't staged. But just for people, some people in your audience think this has to be staged. This is not staged. This is not staged.
Okay, sure. So Jimmy, let me ask you.
Apparently, I'm shocking the snowflakes.
Yeah. So Jimmy, so it sounds like when you were growing up, you used to like skip, and you said people would bust your balls for that. What is that? Can you help me understand what that means?
Well, I mean, I was so happy that I literally skipped down the street as a child, and the kids would make fun of me. It wasn't that big of a deal. I just stopped skipping down the street. I was still happier than a motherfucker, but you know, I stopped skipping down the street. That's all.
Yeah, and I have kind of a weird question. Like, so do you think that? I mean, how did you feel before? You know, when you were skipping down the street and people would start making fun of you? Do you remember how you felt as a kid?
I didn't like it, but that's what happens when you grow up in Philadelphia. Everybody knows what you're doing. They see you. You hang on the corner. You know, you got the girls, you got the guys. You know.
Sure.
People break your balls. People break your ball. You know.
I'm hearing that people would make fun of you, and that you sort of didn't like it, but that's life.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious, like, you know, this is going to sound kind of weird, but do you think as a kid you would have preferred it if they didn't make fun of you?
No, because it taught me how to come back with snappy, witty responses to insults and shit.
I see. So
You got to
just
be on
part
your
of,
guard in Philly. You know, you're hanging on the corner. You know, you got to be able to hold your own. You know.
sure. So I'm hearing that it was kind of like you kind of grew up, right? So it's the school of hard knocks, like it's sort of being street
not
smart.
that bad. Believe me, I wasn't in some really bad neighborhood. I grew up in Roxborough. It's almost like the suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
But I hung all over Philadelphia. I hung in some tough neighborhoods. I was in a boys' home when I was a child, and I would hang out with the kids in their neighborhoods. Kensington, Southwest Philly. I've been all over Philadelphia. They used to call me the rabbit.
What does that mean? You were in a boys' home?
Yeah, my mom put me in it was called St. Francis Vocational School. And you didn't have to be adjudicated, but I was doing a lot of stupid shit. I had gotten into drugs. I'd committed some crimes. My mother didn't know what to do with me. She put me in this boys' home. She thought she was helping me. Believe me, I had a fucking ball there. I didn't want to leave. But, you know, you were allowed out in the community. You weren't, you know, I had friends. I had, you know, we went to concerts, like 50 of us. Like, I went to school in the area. I mean, I pretty much, Doc, I have fun. I literally have fun everywhere I go. Like, I had fun in jail. So, you know what I mean? Like, my number one goal is to have fun. You know?
Okay. So can I ask you, Jimmy, so how old were you when you got put into the vocational school?
13.
And do you remember how you felt when your mom kind of put you in there?
Well, I felt abandoned, was very angry with my mother. I remember her crying, kissing me, and my dad going something like "fly right" or some shit, you know. But that wore off very quickly. But like the con artist I was at that age, I kept kind of letting my mother think, kind of letting her feel guilty. But within days, like I was having a very good time there. These were all kids my age. Like they put you on different divisions. And there were some really cool characters, you know what I mean? Like I liked a lot of these guys. They had a pool table,
Sure.
they had a ping pong table. You know, I mean, I had fun there. I did. And I got sent to another place called St. Gabe's. That was a motherfucker. The Christian Brothers ran that. You had to stay in line for a punishment. Stand in line means you stand and face the wall for hours. And of course, I was always online.
So why did you get sent to St. Gabe's?
The court sent me there. And with the insistence of my mother. My mother thought that these places would help me. She didn't know what to do with me.
What was wrong? What did you need help for?
Well, I was doing drugs. I was committing crimes. She thought I was going to die early. So she told me she used to come to court and the judges were going to let me go. And I want them placed in and they would listen to her. And I would get real pissed off at her. Now, this was as a child. As an older man now, I understand what my mother was doing. You understand? I agree with her. You know, she just placed faith in agencies that, I don't know, probably made me worse. But, you know, as a child, I fucking hated her.
So I'm kind of, what you're saying on the one hand makes a lot of sense. So can I just kind of repeat back what I've heard so far?
What?
So you kind of grew up in Philly, right? Like not like super bad situation, sort of suburbs, but you kind of hung out with some kids, went to some parts of town where you got made fun of. It sounds like you were sort of like a happy-go-lucky kid.
And, I've been described as exactly that.
Yeah, and you know, the kids on the street, like they kind of got you to stop being so carefree pretty quickly.
No, I just stopped skipping.
Sure.
And started being a comedian. I just started being a comedian.
Yeah.
You know, they were calling me gay and this and that, you know. I mean, it just teaches you to toughen up. That's all. I mean, you know, you're living in Philly. You're on the corner. You can't be a pussy.
Sure.
You can't be skipping down the street. Let's put it that way.
And then somehow you kind of started getting into trouble with like drugs and some criminal activity and stuff.
Yeah.
And then your mom kind of shipped you off to one place. And then she kind of shipped you off, like, and it sounded like you kind of did what you were supposed to do, right? So,
see, here's the first thing they did. They took me to the Valley Forge Military Academy, right? They were going to put me in there, right? And there was no fucking way I was going to be a tin soldier, right? So the guy that runs the joint he said, I want to talk to him privately. And he pulls me in a room and he says, listen, if you don't want to come here, we're not going to make you come here. He's like, I don't care what your parents say. He said, do you want to come here? I said, absolutely not. He said, okay. He had a little consultation with my mom and dad. We walked away.
How did you feel about that?
Great.
What? Yeah, I mean, so I'm going to ask you kind of a weird question. Do you have a sense of why you felt great there?
Because I didn't want to be a little cadet. You know what I mean?
Huh.
I didn't want to do that. Follow orders, march around, wake up at 5 o'clock. Fuck that. I was 13. What the fuck?
I see. And then how did it feel when the judge was ready to let you come home and your mom was like, we got to send him to St. Gabe's?
When I was a child, that really pissed me the fuck off.
What pissed you off about that?
I'm watching because she wouldn't take me back. In other words, I got angry with her. And I would be in the cell with these kids from Kensington, where Kensington's like a real bad section of Philadelphia. It's, it's where the men are men and so are the women. I mean, it's crazy. It's gotten even crazier. But these kids would do all kind of shit, like way worse shit than me. And their mothers and fathers would pick them up. Mine wouldn't, and I mean, as young as that was my thinking. I couldn't stand her. I fucking hated her. And my father behind her back would say, if it was up to me, this wouldn't happen, So he pissed me off too, because I thought he was a fucking snowflake. But, when I got older, I realized my mother was trying to help me. That's all. I was an asshole. I was a kid. I mean, I was immature.
Can I think for a second, Jimmy?
What's that?
Can I think for a second?
You don't need my permission to think.
So, Jimmy, what I'm kind of hearing is that you have every reason to be a snowflake, but you'll be damned if you're a snowflake.
No.
How so?
You get more respect if you're not a snowflake, see? But the way the left paints people now, a soy boy is the way to go. A real man
so I think that's exactly what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is that, the story that you're sharing makes you, if you look at if the check boxes of being a snowflake, like getting abandoned by your mom, getting sent to a military academy, getting sent to a vocational school, getting sent to doing what you're graduating from there or whatever. And then, your mom is like the judge is about to send you home. Your mom's like, I can't handle it. Getting sent back to another place.
Well, I hated your dad.
Huh?
I hated her for that.
Yeah. And so if we think about when you use the word snowflake, what I sort of think of is like a victim complex, right? Is that fair?
Yeah.
And so what I'm thinking, when I hear this story, bro, it sounds like, if anyone is entitled to call themselves a victim, it's you. But you're not going to do that.
Well, what? No, I don't. I'm not a victim of anything. I'm just a person that's shaped by their experiences. I don't see myself as any kind of victim. No.
I get that you don't see yourself as a victim. That's sort of what I'm saying. But if you think about it, right? So if you had let's say a liberal snowflake who had your background, do you think they would think of themselves as a victim?
I don't know.
Interesting. Okay.
I couldn't. I can only speak for myself. I mean, I don't know. I was a liberal till my brother put me hip to what the corporate media does. It all started with Trayvon Martin. What a bunch of shit that was. And then Michael Brown, what a bunch of shit that was. And you got to hear about racism. Like nothing has went forward between the races. It's systemic racism, which means everything's racist, right? Sick and tired of hearing this shit. And my brother proved to me. I mean, NBC doctored the 911 call that Zimmerman made. That's clear. They admitted it. They fired 2 underlings. But guess what? This is how the news works. And David knows this. Once you get someone to make an emotional judgment, a nuclear bomb of truth isn't going to make that person change their opinion. Very few people will because they don't want to admit they were duped. And this is how the news works. And this is how they brainwash people. It's sickening.
That's kind of interesting. So let me just make sure I heard you correctly. So once someone makes an emotional judgment, no amount of truth is going to change their mind.
For the most part, the media, that's what the media does.
Sure.
Report some hyperbolic bullshit, report an absolute lie, and then the truth comes out a few days later and people already made a judgment on it. For the most part, human beings are not going to go back on the initial emotional judgment that they made. That's just you being human.
Yeah, so do you think people
media plays you know?
Do you think people who make emotional judgments are aware that they make emotional judgments?
Sure, why wouldn't they be?
Interesting.
You reach somebody emotionally, you know, they know that. You know.
Interesting. So you, because I would actually say like the opposite. Like I would say that, you know, once what emotions tend to do is cloud your judgment. And most people who make emotional decisions believe they're behaving rationally. And that the more emotional you become, the more rational you think you are. What do you think about that?
Maybe not in all circumstances. I mean, I don't know how to, you know, like, I don't know.
Okay.
It's just the way I am. Sure. I don't like being lied to. I don't like being gaslighted. And they're doing it constantly. The media, politicians, you're being lied to all the time. Everything's a grift. Everything is a grift. Everything.
When did you start to feel that way, that everything was a grift?
In the last 10 years.
Can you tell me about...
I was a bill collector for years. You know what the banks do to people on credit cards? Do you have
Can
any
you guys
idea?
can you hold on just one second?
Yeah, sure.
Hello?
Hey, can you get Jimmy to turn off the Discord notification sound? Or is it you?
It may be me. I'm not sure. Hold on one second. Yeah, I don't... So I think that we're having a problem with Discord notifications, but it shouldn't be me. I don't know if it's me or...
I think it might be Jimmy.
Yeah, so Jimmy, we're gonna walk you through something, okay?
Okay. All right.
So I want you to are you full screen right now, or can you see? I'm gonna screen share everything. Okay, so in the bottom bottom left of your name.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'll okay. Sorry. All right. Okay, just I'm gonna put you on speaker, okay? So Jimmy, this is what I want you to do. In the bottom left of your screen, you should see like your name, Jimmy from Philly, and then you'll see a microphone icon, a headphone icon, and a user settings.
Oh, yes.
Click the user settings gear.
Okay.
And then what I want you to do is you should see notifications about halfway down.
Wait a minute. Where is it? Yes.
Okay. And then you should see a bunch of green tabs. Like, can you just move those all, like turn them off? So enable desktop notifications, all that kind of stuff.
Sounds, turn them all off.
Yeah. Turn all those green buttons off. There you go.
What?
Yeah.
Ugh, Jesus Christ. Did they make it any more complicated? Now, how the hell do I get back to you?
Okay, so then what you need to do, you should be, let me just make sure I can navigate you through this. So then what you can do is click that escape, or there should be an X in the top right of your screen.
Top right, okay.
And then you should see us again.
Oh, I think he just X'd out the call.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Then how are we gonna...
There, he's back.
There we go, Jimmy. Jimmy, bro.
I'm here, right?
Yep, just turn your video back on.
Turn the video back on.
On camera.
There you go.
Beautiful.
I'm sorry, guys. Like, I made a YouTube channel. I don't understand computers at all.
Okay. Oh, no, just click it once. It was on.
What the fuck is it? I don't know where it is now.
if you move your mouse around, you should see like 4 icons, like sort of towards the bottom of the call. And the leftmost icon will be turn off camera or turn on camera. Just click that once.
Wait a minute. I don't see it. God damn it. Oh man. I don't see it. User settings.
No, Jimmy, not in user settings. If you do you see the call window, Jimmy, where you can see me and Dr. K and then you?
Yes.
Yeah. At the bottom of that, you should see 4 buttons.
Oh, okay. I bring the mouse there.
Yeah.
Turn on camera.
Exactly. Beautiful. Beautiful.
There we go.
Sorry,
well
guys.
done, Jimmy. Awesome, bro. All right. So, so I wanted to ask you kind of, Jimmy, a couple things. So the second thing is, so I'm sort of hearing like, do you think it's possible for you to be a victim?
That's I guess anybody can be a victim. Yeah, why not?
And what would that mean to you if you were a victim?
I wouldn't know because I don't behave like a victim. If somebody wrongs me, I get back at them. You know, I mean, I find a way to get back at them, and I generally make it funny and spectacular. So,
Okay.
That's just what I do.
And what would it feel like to not get back at them?
Horrible.
In what way? Help me understand that.
It's just like an unpaid debt. You know, the best way I could describe it. Like, I got to get back at you. I mean, I'm not saying be violent, but
justice.
You disrespected me, I got to top it. You know?
Yeah. So what do you think about stuff like forgiveness and compassion?
Well, you know, I was in AA for a while, and they taught me about forgiveness, right? But then I started investigating different religions, and I heard this rabbi on the TV say, he said, we believe in forgiveness too, but not like the Christians. And he said, we believe you got to atone for something before we forgive you. That I agree with. The Christians want you to just forgive a motherfucker just to forgive him. No. Forgiveness should not come easy. No, if you did somebody wrong and you're looking to make amends, you got to atone for that shit before I forgive you. And I think that's more reasonable. Now, I'm an atheist, but, you know, I do some of the religionists, basically it's a philosophy, right? Religion. Some of them come up with some pretty good shit. I mean, I see no problem with treat others as you should treat yourself. You know what I mean? I think that's a good thing. You know, I just don't believe there's a God. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But, you know, they do come up with some good shit for human relations. So, you know.
And I'm going to ask you kind of personal question. You're okay, totally fine to not answer it if you don't want to.
I'll answer anything, Bob.
Have you, you haven't heard my question yet, but have you forgiven your mom?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Help me understand how you did that.
Well, I just grew up and realized that, look, my mother was manic depressive. She had her own issues. She was in psychiatric hospital twice for 6 months, right? The woman was a little fucked up, you know, and she wanted to help me. There's no doubt about it. I remember my aunt from Scotland said, I said something derogatory about my mother. And she sat me down. She said, Jimmy, do you realize you're the golden boy? I said, what do you mean? She said, when there was a problem with your eyes, she whisked you right off to the doctor. Every time you were sick, she brought you to the hospital. She said, that woman wasn't trying to hurt you. She had her own problems, and she went with what she thought would help you, and apparently it didn't. Now, yeah, I wish they would have put a fucking guitar in my hand or something. I mean, I was a very happy-go-lucky, energetic child, but, you know, they tried to make me into being hyperactive. They got me taking Ritalin. They had me in a crazy kid school, you know, all this fucking stupid shit. You know, they should have just gave me something to keep me busy. Like if computers were around then, I think I would have got into that.
If streaming was around then, I think you would have become a streamer.
Around then, in the early 70s? I don't think so.
Yeah, so Jimmy, that's so interesting. So I'm kind of hearing, so what I'm hearing is that your mom really doesn't have anything to atone for.
No. She did her best. She told me, she said, Jimmy, there's no book on how to raise children. I make mistakes, you know? So, you know, my mother loved me. She was a little nuts. I mean, she was manic depressive. I mean, you know. But no, the rest of my family don't forgive her. They're kind of surprised that I take the tack that I take. My sister said to me one time, she put you in a cage. Like, my sister was threatening to put her in a home, right? And my mother was definitely afraid of this. And I got real pissed off at my sister. I said, look, she calls me crying one more time, I'm going to fuck you up. You know what I mean? Like, I'm tired of this shit. She wanted to die in her own home. The woman had the right to do that. There was nothing wrong with her. She fell one time. Big fucking deal. And my sister was, like, literally terrifying her. And I stuck up for her. My sister was shocked. She said, well, she put you in a cage. I'm like, she put me in a cage for a fucking reason. She was trying to fucking help me. You ain't trying to help this woman. You know what I mean? I don't like that shit. And she stopped. You know? Fuck that shit. You ain't gonna fuck with my mom. My mother wasn't perfect. She tried to do the best she could with me. Guess what? You know what she told me? Until you're 18, I'm gonna keep your little ass alive. And you're gonna go where the fuck I want you to go. And when you're 18, if you die, it's on you. Hey, it worked. I'm 58, right? Right? So, Mom wasn't that crazy. You understand?
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from you, Jimmy, is that despite, you know, being very upset with your mom when you were growing up, what I'm really hearing is that you kind of really respect her. You understand her.
Absolutely.
You sort of understand that she kind of did the best that she could given the circumstances. Yeah. She had her own struggles, and you kind of don't blame her for that.
Sure, that's what a mature person does. I mean, that's the only way to look at it. Well, am I going to still be angry at this woman? She's dead. The woman's dead.
Some people continue to stay angry, right?
Yeah. There's no point in it. There's no percentage in it.
So, Jimmy, I'm kind of curious. You said you kind of got into drugs and kind of criminal activity and stuff as a kid. Like, what's your understanding of how that happened?
Well, I mean, I started committing crimes to get money for drugs. Like, if it weren't, and I don't want to blame it on drugs. I mean, I did it. I own it. But had it not been for drugs, I wouldn't have committed the crimes. So, you know, but I certainly committed the crimes.
How do you understand, you know, so some people think of, you know, substance use as an addiction, as a disease, as an illness. What do you think about that?
The whole disease thing was a bunch of bullshit with the insurance companies and all. I'm very well versed on all that shit, on AA, the history of it and all. That's just a word. That's all it is. It's bullshit. Whether or not it's a disease, who cares? You know, like I went to AA. AA helped me tremendously. I went through the 12 steps in 2 weeks. You know, people said, oh, that's crazy. Well, if you study the history of AA, it did it in days, and that's a fact. But it did shake, like I had a therapist explain to me, therapy's supposed to kind of shake you up, and then you settle down differently, right? That was the best description I've ever heard. Well, that's what a beautiful description. It got me to take a look at things, especially my mother. And I remember when I went to make amends with my mother, I went to her grave, and I cried like a baby, and I never talked ill of my mother ever again. And I was 38 years old. So I was hating on my mother till I was 38 years old. And I was a damn fool. But, you know, I did a 4th step. I did a 5th step. I ran around making amends. You know what I mean? Got in my car and just started making amends. To amend is to fix or repair something to the best of your ability. And that's what I did. And because of these actions, see, a lot of these people, they're just told to go to meetings and listen to other people's sob stories. I'm sorry. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. You can't think your way out of bad thinking. You have to act your way into better thinking. And the actions that I took through the 12 steps, it helped me even today to be more honest, to not be deceitful, to not that I wasn't an honest person, but you know. But you know, to get a real fucking view of what's really going on, rather than that dumb shit that was running around in my head. Hating on my mother, hating the world, thinking the world owed me a living. It doesn't. Life ain't fair. It's not. It's how you react to it. And it really helped me. I mean, and then I started to become a sponsor, which was the best thing ever, because when you're helping somebody else, you ain't thinking about yourself, right? That was my whole problem. I thought about my fucking self too much. I was self-centered, selfish, and helping other people. Really, I really enjoyed doing that.
Jimmy, I'm just going to kind of give David a chance to kind of chime in for a second. And you know, just because I noticed he's been listening thoughtfully and maybe taking notes. Dave, did you want to add anything or ask any questions or kind of share any thoughts?
No, I mean, I think, you know, one of the interesting things from a complete lay person's perspective is that I didn't know the background of Jimmy until today, but it's exactly what I imagined it might be that gets him to where he is today at 58, in the sense of, I do see Jimmy as a victim myself. And it's not about whether he has to, quote, behave like one, but I you know, in hearing about the situation that he grew up in, it makes a lot of sense to me that he kind of behaves in the boisterous way and finds this need to always have this opposite reaction to what he's experiencing, and he doesn't feel right unless he does that it's like an unpaid debt. I mean, it's other viewers of mine have told me similar stories about how they got to where they are in their 30s, 40s, 50s. And so it makes a lot of sense. Everything I'm hearing is putting a lot of pieces into place.
So the only thing I might be thinking of is the 70s.
Jimmy, I know you want to respond to that. I said, okay, if I follow up with David a little bit, and okay. So David, when you said this is, you know, the picture that we're kind of uncovering is exactly, in a sense, what you're not surprised to hear. Help me understand, like, what do you mean by that? Why aren't you surprised to hear this? How do the dots of what we've learned in the past about Jimmy connect with your understanding of him today?
Well, I mean, I think it was very interesting that I've experienced Jimmy's homophobic and transphobic language, right? I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He says he's just making fun, but he doesn't hate people. That's fine. So I'll use the term, I won't say transphobia and homophobia, his transphobic and homophobic language. And I've experienced it with Jimmy as an adult, and he revealed today that he was the recipient of that when he was skipping along and being called gay. That makes that makes a lot of sense to me, in the sense that he's weaponizing the way he felt when that was used against him, against other people that maybe he wants to go after or get back at. Like, that's one example of why it's fitting together.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about that, Jimmy?
I don't know. I mean, David, I certainly am no victim. You know, good and bad things happen to people all the time. And in fact, like, what is good and bad? What's bad? Don't the Chinese see, what is that, conflict as, like, opportunity? You know what I mean? If something bad happens, you can go one of two routes, right? You can become a victim, get angry, get depressed, stay that way for years, or you can turn that shit around. Make lemonade out of lemons, right? I mean,
and how do you think, so if someone is kind of a victim, as someone is sad and depressed, how do you think, you kind of speaking about what you were sort of mentioning about AA and becoming a sponsor and helping other people, how do you help someone like that turn their lemons into lemonade?
Well, the whole thing with that is, I guess it's a form of selfishness. I mean, if you keep thinking about you and your fucked up situation, you're not thinking about a solution. You're stuck in the problem. So you got to get out of yourself somehow. And for me,
so you've been so you've been a sponsor, right? So you've helped people who are in a dark space. And how did you help them out of that?
Just helped them with the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I helped them take them through the 12 steps. And they got to define it the way they did. And, you know, like, they got to experience it the way they did. The more they practiced it, the more they experienced. And they got to articulate it any way they wanted to. I didn't tell them to say. Most of these guys would tell you, when I got sponsors, right? And believe me, these were all well-meaning people, but they would say, call me every day, right? So I'd call them. They'd last about 10 minutes because I was pissed off. I was disgusted. The one thing that comforted me, drugs or alcohol, wasn't available anymore. and they lasted about 10 minutes, right? And they would say, "Go tell that at a meeting. You'll feel better." I never did. I never felt better talking about my problems all the fucking time. And believe me, I talked about my problems. I never understood.
No, I'm asking how you helped other people.
What's that?
So I'm hearing that you seem to be talking about when someone else was your sponsor. It sounded like you were a sponsor.
Yeah. I sponsored.
How did you help other people?
Oh, what I did was I helped them to open their own eyes.
How did you do that?
I was helped through the 12 steps. Do a 4th and 5th step with them. Share the way I made amends. Discuss that with them. And then they had to go out and do the work. Like, I was just like a guide. I was no special person or anything. It's not like I had superhuman powers.
Sure.
But I had a problem that I got over. And you're the same way, ain't you? And you have a problem with gaming and you got over it and now you help gamers? Well, then you understand this. Absolutely.
Oh, sure. I mean, I understand my experience of it. So my experience of it, and I was kind of curious because,
I'm sure it's similar.
I think it is too. So let me kind of share with you kind of my experience and you let me know. So, I found that when I was playing video games, like I was really struggling and some people would kind of, not really understand that I was struggling. They would sort of blame me. They thought it was weakness, things like that. Some people made fun of me. I got bullied a lot when I was kind of growing up for playing video games and things like that. And the people that helped me sort of, I think, did sort of what you did, which is that, they didn't make fun of me or things like that. They sort of helped me see things in a new light. They helped me sort of recognize that, while I may be a victim in some ways, that if I'm a victim, if it's really my fault, they also empowered me in some ways by sort of helping me understand that, like, there is some element of this that I control.
Well, Doc, sometimes bullies can be good. They can help you to face reality a whole lot quicker.
Yeah. So if it's okay with you, Jimmy, what I'm going to actually do is like share some thoughts and I'm kind of curious what about this will kind of land well with you and what won't.
Go ahead.
And just, I'm super curious because I think getting to talk to you, by the way, first of all, bro, this has been an absolute privilege. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I'm having fun.
Great. Do you have a doctor, by the way? You have a doctor that you see? Huh?
A shrink.
Okay. Because I'm just, noticing that you're smoking cigarettes and vaping and stuff like that. So I just want to make sure that, your health is okay and that you talk to a medical professional about all that stuff.
I'm fine. I'm trying to vape more.
Okay. But it sounds like you were you joking when you said you have a shrink or?
No, I said I don't have a shrink.
Oh, you don't have a shrink. But do you have like a physical health doctor?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And they're aware that you're smoking and vaping and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
They promote the vaping, actually.
Okay. So
harm reduction now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. So the first thing that I kind of want to point out is so like I think, Jimmy, what I'm really hearing from you is like, you grew up and you learned a couple of really important lessons. So you were kind of like young and carefree and stuff like that, right? And then like you kind of learned that when people behave in a manner that is maybe a little bit unusual, is maybe a little bit funny, that like the way that you respond to that, like the way that you were treated, because that's how we learn, right? Like we treat other people the way that we were treated, right? So that's how human beings learn interaction. So, I grew up in Texas where a firm handshake is a great way to greet someone. And so that's sort of what I thought was normal. And what I'm sort of hearing from you is that, when someone's a little bit different, the way that you treat them is you just kind of make fun of them, right? Because that's just what we do. Like that's the way that's what happened to you. That's the way you kind of respond. That's sort of the system of things.
Not always. I don't always make fun of them. I generally, what can I say? In my personal life, everyone knows me. No one takes some of the things I say seriously. But when there's a time to be serious, they know it. I mean,
can I ask you
respectfully,
Can I ask you a little bit about your personal life?
What about?
So, like, who's in your life right now? Who are what are the relationships that matter to you?
Well, I live in a very nice rooming house in a very nice area. I run the place. I'm the kitchen Nazi. Can fine you $50 if you don't clean up. Now I've yet to do it, but this landlord here, she likes renting all these kids and fucking vegetarians. They're gonna save the world of animals, but they won't clean up the kitchen. It's amazing. I point to the floor. So you're having artichokes, onions, and looks like there's a tomato there too. These kids, it took me 2 years to whip this place into shape. Now we got a professional cleaner. So
So it sounds like you're kind of like it sounds like there are kids in the sense of
there's no kids.
Young folks here, and so it sounds like you're kind of imposing some discipline and order.
This is the International House of Pancakes. We got West Africans, we got Koreans, we got Jamaicans, we got black people, we got everybody here.
So I'm hearing that some of the relationships in your life are kind of the people that are in the rooming house. What about significant others, partners, family?
Nah, I don't have a significant other. I haven't had a steady girlfriend since my ex said I threw the baby on the floor. So she betrayed me, and I really don't give a shit about a relationship.
Okay. When you say you don't give a shit, do you ever feel lonely?
Curiously enough, no.
That is kind of curious, right? How do you understand that?
I would, but no. Listen, I walk down the street, I have fun. I talk to everybody. I pet every dog I see. I don't know what to tell you. I have fun. I'm a relatively happy person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, but how do you think that happened? Because I'm thinking 58-year-old. Maybe.
Well, I'll say this for you. LSD has helped me tremendously.
How so?
It's made me happier.
Interesting. Okay. And so when was the last time you were in a relationship?
20 years ago.
Okay. I'm going to ask you kind of a weird question. You don't have to answer if you don't feel comfortable, but have you ever wondered if you might be gay?
No.
And I know it sounds kind of weird, but why not?
Because I don't think a man's hairy ass is appealing.
That's basically as right of an answer as you can give. Okay.
Yeah.
And so it does sound like you're sexually attracted.
Problem. I got no problem. With homosexuals. I don't.
Yeah.
In fact, I've had a few homosexual friends that were some funny motherfuckers.
Yeah. So I'm just hearing that you're sexually attracted to women and you're pretty sure about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Was it okay that I asked you those questions?
Yeah. I hit the sucky fucky every now and then,
What?
I hit the sucky fucky every now and then. Massage place. An Asian massage place.
Okay. Anyway, so
if you must know what I do for sex, because that would be the next logical question.
I was just, I suppose it would be the next logical question. Jimmy, I gotta say, man, you are a blast to talk to, bro.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just want to, so here's the thing. If it's okay with you, I'm going to sort of share some thoughts and a couple of observations. I met you now, like about an hour ago, right? And yes. So you got to take all this with a healthy grain of salt, Right. But so I'm going to kind of just start out with like, it seems like you kind of grew up and you were taught a particular, here's the rules of the game of life, right? If you're a little bit different, you get made fun of, and that like making fun of people is sort of what happens. And there's no victim complex here. You kind of, it's like tit for tat. Like if someone makes fun of you, you make fun of them. And it's like, that's just the way of the world.
No, I got to top them.
You got to top them. Why is that?
I don't know. Makes me feel better.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll share a couple of thoughts with you about that in a second, but
okay.
So and then I think that, honestly, like so I'm a psychiatrist and I see a lot of people, who have PTSD and gone through traumatic experiences and stuff like that. And I'm actually, I know this may sound kind of weird, but I do think that there's, some people really go too far on the victimhood complex. And as a psychiatrist, sometimes what I find is that, if you kind of think of yourself as 100% of a victim, that also means that you have no control or agency over life.
Okay.
And that you can be a victim, and at the same time, there are parts of your life that you can control. So I think that there were some.
Well, let me say this to you. The biggest thing that I felt like a victim was when my ex used the police and the courts to lie and say I threw the baby on the floor. They were all against me. The accusations was what mattered, not the fact whether or not it happened. They did no investigation. They didn't ask if the child was taken to the hospital. They just charged me, made me spend thousands of dollars for a lawyer. To this day, that pisses me off. That's the way the system is. I had detectives tell me, you're guilty till you're proven innocent. If it's with a girlfriend or a wife, if they say you did something, boom, you're locked up. No investigation. I believe that's extremely unfair. It's very unfair.
How did it feel to be a victim in that situation?
Not fucking
good. Railroaded.
Not good. I went down there and screamed at the psychiatrist, and the security guards came in, and he put his hand up, and he talked to me, and here's what my lawyer got the notes from the psychiatrist. So the psychiatrist said that I was very affable, right? But that I needed some mental health support, right? Yeah, no shit. My ex just said I threw the fucking baby on the floor, and I didn't. You know what I mean? But then he does the report on her, and he says the distance that Miss Veith claimed that he threw the child on the floor became lower and lower as the interview went on. In other words, he called her a liar because she is a fucking liar. She got away with it. She got away with it. Because she said. That's ridiculous. It pisses me off to this day. And I don't feel like a victim anymore, but I'm still pissed off about it. I'm still going to talk about it. Fucking ridiculous. Now the kid's in Harvard. So, and guess what? That kid read books because she saw me reading books. I always read. Her prior series in their entire fucking life. Okay? The kid calls me when she's 10. Listen to this. She calls me when she's 10 years old. She says, Daddy, Mommy told me to get in the tub, but I was already in the tub. I'm like, what? She said, Mommy told me to get in the tub, but she was already in the tub. I said, is Mommy drinking? She said, yeah. I said, put her on the phone. I said, she's at the age of reason now. If you want her to hate you like I fucking hate you, keep fucking drinking. And to her credit, 3 weeks later, she went into rehab. I believe she's still sober. I'm not sure, but she's been sober a number of years. So, mission accomplished. The kid won't talk to me. The mother poisoned her. The mother got both her titties chopped off, right? I found it on Facebook, and I sent her a message. It couldn't have happened to a nicer person. I'm skipping down the street. I'm going to have a party. Well, apparently, saying mean things is worse than doing mean things. Yeah, what I said was terrible. But her saying I threw the baby on the floor, costing me thousands of dollars, forever altering the relationship I would have with my daughter, is a lot worse. So you deserve that. You know what I mean? I don't give a fuck. They can cut her head off. You know what I mean? I don't care.
Yeah, you sound very, very angry.
Well, what the fuck? What would you... Threw the baby on the floor? What the fuck? It never happened. Even my kid, when she was 5, she's like, Dad, wouldn't I have gotten hurt? Yeah, you'd think these detectives would ask those questions. No, but they're forced to charge you. That's the way the law works. If it's a girlfriend or a spouse, if they make some allegation like that, you're just sent off to court. No investigation. None.
So how would you have liked to be treated?
Not without evidence. Not without evidence.
How would you have liked to be treated in that situation?
I like to be treated fairly. I like some kind of investigation to go on before I'm charged.
So
it's fucking ridiculous.
I'm going to put myself in the shoes of someone else. Let's say a cop or your ex-girlfriend or whatever. And I'm going to say for a second that you were treated fairly. Like, what if they thought they were treating you fairly?
Even the cops admit it's unfair. I've talked to scores of detectives. They say, look, in that instance, you're guilty till proven innocent. It's fucked up. It's fucked up. No investigation. Like, look, if somebody accused me of murder, they do a fucking investigation, right? If somebody accused me of burglary, they do a fucking investigation. If somebody accused me of anything, they do an investigation. But when a woman says a man did something to a kid, there's no fucking investigation. They just charge you. That's wrong. That shit's wrong. Cost me thousands of dollars to disprove a lie. Fuck yeah, that's wrong. Believe women. Fuck that. Not without evidence. Fuck that. You're supposed to get mad about shit like that.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I think the worst thing a man can do is rape a woman, and I think the worst thing a woman can do is lie and say that you abused your own child. That's fucked up. And a kid made it to Harvard. Looks like I did something fucking right. Yeah.
Doesn't sound like you got a whole lot of credit for it.
What's that?
Doesn't sound like you got a whole lot of credit for it.
Well, I shouldn't get credit. Look, the kid was smart. Kid liked to read. You know what I mean? And my whole family's like thinking Carol did something. That kid went to Harvard despite that dumb bitch. He drank a fifth of JD a day for 10 years. That kid was born smart, and she liked to read. And she would ask me, Daddy, what's your book? He said. And I would stop because my father read all the time, but he would get pissed off if you stopped him. So I would stop, put the book down. Well, Julia, here's what happened so far. So I'll let you know when it ends. Yeah,
Jimmy, I'm gonna kind of interrupt you for a second. Is that okay? How does it feel to share this?
Good.
What feels good about it?
I don't know. I like talking about how would I put it? About my daughter. Because see, I can tell the fucking truth. My ex has never told the truth. And you know, apparently, you know, she's gotten away with a lot of this. You know, not a very bright girl, but you know.
So, Jimmy, I'm gonna try to do this one more time. Okay. So, if it's okay with you, I'm gonna share some thoughts about what I'm seeing. So, it kind of starts off. I'm sort of noticing that when you grew up and you behaved somewhat differently, and when people didn't understand what you were or how you were the way you were, like you're a kid who skips, and the kids on the corner who like don't understand what that's about, so they make fun of you, right? And then you sort of learned how to survive in that situation. You also learned that like, hey, this is where humor comes in. Like, you kind of fight fire with fire, and like I'm sure that early on, before you learn how to defend yourself using humor, it probably hurt when they make fun of you, but you sort of learned that like, hey, if you get hurt laying down and playing the victim, there's no point to that. You got to kind of, you got to fight back. And the way that you fight back is you put people in their place. You teach them a lesson. You kind of make fun of it. You laugh with them. You laugh at them. You kind of like, that's the way the world works. And then I'm sort of hearing that, that you had a couple of interesting things happen to you. You kind of got into drugs and stuff like that. You got into crime because of the drugs. I think you come to acknowledge that your mom wasn't perfect in a lot of ways, but she sort of, in her own flawed way, did the best that she could. And you've come to even defend her and kind of be a champion for her when other people were trying to like, kind of abuse her or not kind of treat her properly. Like you weren't going to let her be a victim, and you would stand up for someone else who kind of couldn't stand up for themselves. And that's actually despite, getting sent off to like become a tin soldier. And by the way, I think part of the reason that you really, part of the reason that you were telling that story, I think I heard some positivity there. And I think part of the positivity with that story is that someone actually like paid attention to what you wanted and what you cared about. And the guy was like straight with you and said, hey, if you want to be here, I got your back. And if you don't want to be here,
I was eternally grateful to that commander or whatever the hell he was.
It's weird, right?
Not to go there.
Yeah, and he had your back, right? So like,
when I was in St. Gabe's, we played Valley Forge Military Academy in football, and we beat the shit out of them.
Yeah.
I got a fumble and all.
what I'm sort of hearing is that, you know, some people like your mom, it sort of felt like she didn't have your back, right? When she's in the court, judge is like, time to go home. And mom's like, Whereas like, it's interesting because there are like some people here who sort of have your back, right? And he's like a stranger, but it was really interesting to kind of hear and see your emotional expressions and stuff as you were kind of telling that story. You kind of got sent to St. Francis. You sort of liked it, but you sort of made your mom pay for it, right? You weren't going to let her off the hook for feeling that she abandoned your kid. Yeah, right. And then you went to St. Gabe's, which you really didn't like, but it sounds like in a lot of ways you were sort of dealt an unlucky hand in life. But I'm also sort of hearing that you're not going to play the victim because like, that's not who you are.
No.
And so this is,
that's, you know, shit happens to all kind of people. All kind of negative things happen to people, you know. Yeah,
of course. And so I think that, like you said, you know, the one place where you maybe get to play the victim card or you feel like you were really treated, you know, unfairly was probably the situation with this whole domestic violence kind of thing and stuff like that.
Right.
But then I'm also kind of hearing that, you know, this AA experience has been really interesting for you because what I'm sort of hearing is that, you know, acknowledging that people have their own experience of alcohol, helping people understand their experience of alcohol. Sorry, it's just a bit distracting. And sort of help other people sort of like listening to you and sort of being like kind of compassionate, right? But also they're not saying like, oh, it's like, it's not your fault. Alcohol is a disease. Like they're not sort of using that kind of victim language, but what they're sort of doing is recognizing that, hey, you may need a little bit of support. And I think affable and may need some mental health support, I think is a great way to describe you, by the way.
To be fair, the whole disease thing, let me just stop you. To be fair, in the big book, when Bill Wilson wrote it, they did not declare it a disease. He called it an illness, a malady. He used other terms. The whole disease thing is a fucking joke. It really is. I think it's ridiculous. And, you know, like, the problem for me for many years is I would go to AA. They would tell you to go to a meeting. If you got a problem, put it out in the meeting like it's group therapy. I don't know about you, but constantly talking about my problems makes you feel worse. Makes you feel worse. So I had to like take some actions. I knew I had to do something. I didn't know what the fuck to do, you know. But this man helped me, and I was very impressed with the fact that he fucking spent his personal time with me. And he said, now you go do it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
So I did. I was afraid, but I did it.
So I'm with you. I mean, I think I'll kind of address that in a second too. But and so what I'm kind of hearing now is that, you know, you kind of got your opinions and you're going to stick to them. And if people want to be snowflakes, they can go screw themselves. You're going to say what you're going to want to say. And so this is where, you know, I'd actually encourage you to rethink that a little bit. And here's the reason why. Okay. So like what I'm hearing is many situations in your life where people didn't listen to you, and other situations where they kind of did. Like, so we can talk about, you know, that the general or whatever at the Tin Soldier place. We can think a little bit about your AA sponsor. We can even think about the psychiatrist who sort of said, you know, sort of had your back and sort of looked at the situation. But
you know what, Doc? I even look at it like even the bullies help me in some sense. You understand?
I'm with you. I'm with you. I'll get there. Right. So like those moments, you know, where people really like, you know, because I'm not hearing that your AA sponsor made fun of you. And I'm not hearing that when you're an AA sponsor,
well,
someone else.
He actually did, but he was the funny guy.
Okay.
He just died too. I was real. He died of Hep C. He got treated. I had Hep C too. I got treated and cured. But he had it for like 30 years. And it fucked with his liver so bad that even though he was cured, it killed him, which was a real shame. A nice guy.
Sounds like a real shame. Yeah. And so I'm also hearing loud and clear that, you know, your experiences have made you the person that you are, which is sort of a survivor. You know, if I had to use one word to describe it, you know, you've been through a lot.
The number one will of a human being is to survive, is it not?
Yeah. And what I'm also hearing, and I know this may sound kind of weird, but there have been a lot of times where we sort of talked a little bit about, you know, maybe how you're feeling or, you know, like, for example, like that you don't feel lonely and even you're a little bit surprised at that. And in my experience, actually, like psychologically and neuroscientifically, like sometimes what happens when people are survivors is parts of their brain actually shut down, because like you were kind of saying, if you didn't shut those parts of the brain down, it'd be like going to an AA meeting, talking about all the negativity, and it just sort of like feels worse and worse and worse. And so sometimes what the brain actually does is numb ourselves to negative emotions. And the last kind of thing that I'd sort of share with you is that, you were talking a little bit about how like you don't like to wallow in the negativity, which I get because you're not a victim and all that kind of good stuff. But there was a little bit of time today where you sort of did share, hey, the one place where I think if anyone wanted to call me a victim, it was in this place. You got pissed off. You started off, you can even go back and watch this. You started off laughing about it. And then towards the end, you really got angry. And then I kind of asked you, like, how does it feel to talk about it? And you actually said, good. Now, I think if we had spent an hour and a half talking about it, you would feel worse at the end. But what I'm sort of noticed, maybe, yeah. Well, I mean, you're the one who said that wallowing in the negativity makes you feel, generally speaking, worse. But who knows? Yeah. So this is where, what I'm kind of noticing is like you're someone who had to kind of adapt. You had to survive. You had to learn how to laugh. You had to learn how to, yeah, you had to, tit for tat. And at the same time, like the cost of that survival, like, has come at maybe like, to a certain degree, like kind of toning down your compassion, toning down your empathy, toning down even feelings of loneliness or negative emotions, because you've said time and time and time again, everything to me is funny. Everything to me is funny. I'm a happy kind of guy, right? And so what I'm sort of noticing there is like, that seems really unusual. And so there's a part of me that, based on our conversation, makes me wonder whether there's like stuff that's kind of like tucked away, swept under the rug. That
no, I think I have a different personality type. I have a rare type. I've been type before. I have a rare personality type. Doesn't make me special or not, and I just see things differently. I don't know.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I think that you do see things
it's better to laugh than cry, Doc, isn't it? I mean, I had a therapist tell me, Jimmy, about my family. She said, there's the Brady Bunch, and then there's everybody else. So, that helped put it in perspective,
So here's what I'd say. I'd say that it's best to laugh and cry.
I don't know. I ain't cried in a while.
Yeah. Right? And like even then, you kind of said, I haven't cried in a while, and then you laughed. What's funny about that?
Better to laugh.
Yeah, so because when you say better to laugh, that's kind of interesting because
that doesn't mean I'm looking to cry.
Oh, I think it means you're looking to not cry. Right? So when you say it's better to laugh than to cry, and every time you laugh, what I'm sort of noticing is that you've got a choice there and you're deviating towards laughter instead of crying.
No, I wouldn't say that. I think I'm just a happy-go-lucky person, and there's nothing in my life that would make me cry right now. Just nothing. Sure. Like I don't know. I mean,
okay.
It's not an option to cry. There's nothing to cry about. This is the best period of my life. I got a little YouTube channel. I mean, I like that. That's going pretty good.
So
I quit one job for another. Got 2 more hours an hour. I'm doing all right.
Yeah, I hear that, man. I don't disagree with you. I'm not saying that you need to sit there and cry all the time and oh my God, your life is crap and things like that. What I'm sort of saying is that I think that you've got maybe 1 or 2 things that you could feel rightfully sad about, but I sort of also understand that playing a victim is not something that you're going to do. When I think a little bit about your daughter and her being at Harvard, and I hear you kind of speak with pride, and also that she's been poisoned against you, like, I think it'd be okay to shed a tear on that if you felt like it.
Nah, sometimes I get a little sad about it, but I've basically convinced myself that, look, the kid has reached the pinnacle of schools. She's not going to want for anything if she plays her cards right. And up to now, she's played her cards right. So she's not going to need her father that much. And if she doesn't want me in her life, then that's her choice. There's nothing I can do about it.
So you used an interesting word there.
I've gotten a few hobbies. Look, I started painting. Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
Jimmy, I just want to point one thing out to you, and then we can, can that discussion. But
Okay.
You said, I've convinced myself. So when someone uses that word, when I think about convincing, what I think about is starting from a place where you believe one thing and working really hard to believe something else.
Well, in a sense, yes. Because look, let's face it, that's a sad situation. The kid ain't talking to me.
Yeah.
Right? There's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing I can do about it. So hopefully the kid grows the fuck up and, like apparently it was okay for this woman to falsely accuse me 3 times. Twice of abusing her, once of abusing.
Yeah. So Jimmy, can I cut you off again? Is that okay?
Okay.
So here's what I'd say. I'm with you that there's nothing you can do about it. So a lot of times when there's nothing we can do about something, like, why cry about it, right? Because it's not going to help anything. I'm with you. I'm with you there. Makes perfect sense, right? So like, why? What's the use of crying over spilled milk, right?
Yeah,
with you there.
Much.
So this is the last thing that I'd leave with you, and you don't have to agree with whatever I'm saying. It's really just I'm just making observations, and you can decide. You're the expert on you. So the last thing that I'd say is, like, I'd encourage you to try. If you're a funny dude, that's fine. You find something funny, that's fine. I'd encourage you to try to be like a little bit more compassionate towards people who may be confused or struggling or see themselves as victims. I'm not saying that they are victims. I'm not saying that there's an objective right or wrong. But what I've heard from you time and time and time again is that there have been periods in your life where, like, whether you were a victim or you weren't a victim, whether it was really your fault that you got sent off to these schools or things like that, whether they formed you into being the person that you are, and so therefore good experiences, I'm with you all through that. Even in terms of my own video game addiction, I'm grateful for it because it turned me into the person that I am. And at the same time, while I'm going through it, if someone sort of shares a kind word with me, even if my head is in the wrong space, I don't understand exactly what's going on. You kind of said that about yourself, when you were kind of like going through this AA stuff and you started to have realizations that during that dark period before you understand things, that a kind word or even someone sort of like, taking you seriously and saying, hey, I don't think that's really what it is, can actually have like a positive impact. And what I'd encourage you to kind of think about is, like, these people that you kind of call snowflakes and stuff like that. I don't know if there's an objective right here or an objective wrong. You may think that there's an objective right. I think that it's possible that your judgments are also emotional, and then, no amount of truth is going to change your mind. What I'm saying is just, like, from a human perspective, even if you can think they're ridiculous, can you be kind to them too?
Oh, absolutely. One of the quotes in the book of Alcoholics Anonymous says, "With those we dislike, we practice justice and courtesy." So, I mean, you got to be fair with people, and you got to be civil. You got to try to be civil with them. I mean, you really should fight fire with water. But quite often I got to fight fire with fire.
Yeah, so what
backwards, but yeah.
Yeah, what do you think about that, bro?
I get myself into some situations.
Yeah. So, just one last thought, and then, David can talk or you can talk. I'm kind of done with my spiel, but, just like you said, like, it sounds like a lot of times you fight fire with fire, and the words came out of your mouth. Like, sometimes maybe you should think about using water from time to time, bro.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes water doesn't make sense when you're dealing with somebody who's irrational and unreasonable. So.
Well, look, I'm not saying that fire isn't appealing. But I'd even argue that the more irrational someone is, the more water helps rather than fire.
I don't know if they're willing to listen.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's tricky, but I'm hearing that maybe you're rethinking things a little bit, but you came to use fire for a reason, right? Because the water wasn't working well. And at the same time, maybe there's some exploration to have there.
I think with what I went through in my life, I've turned out pretty goddamn good. And I'm relatively happy. So,
yeah.
I have no problem with my life.
I think you've done a good... I'm about to say something that make you... Let me know if this is like a victim complex kind of thing. But I would say, given the hand of cards that you've been dealt, you played a really good game of poker.
Yeah, maybe. Believe me, I fucked up along the way.
Yeah.
Learn more from fuck-ups than any kind of success, trust me.
Absolutely, man. I hear you.
Failure is overrated. Underrated.
Hey, Jimmy, can I ask a quick question, Jimmy? You know, when you and I started kind of I don't know about corresponding, but when you started calling in, there was a different sort of anger that I feel like in our interactions has dissipated over time, where you and I have even communicated privately by email. And I feel like it's a different Jimmy than from maybe a couple years ago. Is that about something has changed for you over the last couple years, or is that about your relationship with me specifically?
I would say LSD has helped me. I honestly believe that's made me happier.
Wow.
I honestly believe. Now I get in arguments with these people online. They say, "Oh, it taught me this, it taught me that." LSD, it's a drug. It ain't teaching you shit, but it does seem to make me happier. It does seem to make me want to take risks. You know, like I was afraid to start the YouTube channel that I got. Like I was unconfident about it. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. Fuck it, I just did it. I don't even know how to do this shit. You guys help me, right? So when I see somebody that doesn't know how to do something, I'm willing to help them. That's how it should work, right? So you just have to have the will to do something. You don't necessarily have to understand it, know how to do it. You just move towards it, right? So that's what I'm doing.
Words to live by.
Wow. And Jimmy, I'm just curious, and you don't, if you don't want to answer that, this obviously you don't have to. Do you own firearms?
No.
You know, okay.
I'm a felon. I can't.
Okay. Okay.
I wouldn't own one anyway. I have no problem with people that do, but I have no need for a gun.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I've, you know, I can defend myself, but some people, it's their right. You know, they have a right to do it. I lost that right by being convicted. So
yeah.
Well.
Wow. Well, Jimmy, listen, you've really said it all. I mean, I don't know about you, Dr. K, but this has been incredibly illuminating to me.
Same.
Yeah.
I mean, I really appreciated, you know, Jimmy's honesty and his perspective and his cojones for coming on and kind of maybe stepping a touch outside of his comfort zone.
I had fun, fellas.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
Yeah, maybe that's my. Oh, sorry, Dr. K. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Nope. I was just gonna say, like, Jimmy, you gotta talk to your doc about, you know, all the stuff you're using, bro. Okay.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my question. No, but Jimmy, what I was curious is during this hour and a half, I think it's been consistent Cool Whip cigarettes and vaping the entire time. Is this all day while you're up, or are you maybe like understandably a little nervous about this conversation, so you're doing it, or is that all day?
Well, listen, the Whip It gods were good to me. They just delivered 600 15 minutes before the stream started.
No, but what I'm asking, Jimmy, is from the time you wake up till you go to sleep, are you consuming the whole time?
No.
You're not.
But I do hit these whippets a little hard. I mean, you know, but not in the morning or not, you know. I mean.
Okay. And then absolute last thing, just because AA was such a prevalent thing, are you sober now from the standpoint of alcohol?
No, but I don't drink as much.
Okay.
I was knocking down 2 bottles of that whiskey a week. I've had that for 10 days.
The bottle behind you.
Yeah.
I see.
So I'll drink 3 strong beers, 9 or 10% a night. Of course, in 5 hours. So I'm not driving. I'm doing a stream.
David, I'm kind of curious. What pushes you to ask questions to Phil about Jimmy, about how much substances he's using?
Well, I'm curious in my interactions with him, how influenced by substance use they might be. Because I'm hearing, you know, I'm getting an email or hearing a voicemail. And my instinct is it would help me maybe to frame the context a little bit if I know maybe what his state of mind is. That's my kind of curiosity about it. Yeah. Wow.
Okay.
Well,
Jimmy, any questions from your end?
Yeah.
No, I had a great time. Thanks, fellas.
All right.
Let's
Thank you
do
very
this
much.
again in a year. Let's do this again.
Sure. David, you want to go ahead and wrap up, or?
Yeah, well, listen, I appreciate everybody's time. Jimmy, you know, you and I have known each other a couple years now in some sense, and this has really been informative for me. I feel like I better understand you now. And, you know, Dr. K, I really appreciate you lending your expertise and, you know, leading us through this. I feel like I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let me say this, David. My end game here with you, right, is to get you to debate the hard bastard. And one day you're going to do it.
Sorry, who? The hot bastard?
The hard bastard.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about that in this new spirit of openness and exploration and honesty.
This sounds great.
Hard bastard.
To it.
Hard bastard is a YouTuber that eviscerates you, David, every night he streams. In fact, he'll be on tonight doing a segment on you.
Okay. All right. Good.
Absolutely hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious, David.
All right. Very good. Okay. Thanks so much, guys. Dr. K, really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for the opportunity, Jimmy. It was nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you.
David, take care. Thanks for setting this up.
All right,
My
David,
pleasure.
Thanks for setting it up.
Bye.
All right. We'll talk to everybody
guys.
soon. Take care. Wow. What a day. What a day. Let's just see here what else we've got here. Really quite a conversation. Man, it's an historic and exhausting day, but I feel like we've really learned a lot here. We've really, really, really learned a lot. Let's see what's happening over here.
And beat them at their own game. Sometimes fire doesn't work. You got to use water.
Yeah. Very, very instructive. All right, guys. I don't know what else to say. Let's all digest it. We'll get this turned around and re-uploaded to YouTube and to everything. And we'll be back with everybody very soon. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me. And maybe we'll do this again with another viewer. I don't know. Maybe with Jimmy in a year. Who knows? I am worried about the whippets and the smoking and everything. I mean, that was a lot. That was really a lot. But we'll see everybody very